So welcome, I'm going to crack on and start. Welcome, my name is Nikki Jennings. I've worked at LHH here for about 6 years now. I'm a consultant here, an executive career coach, but I'm also a facilitator, and I manage a lot of the workshops that we run both within the career mobility space and within the career transition space. I'm thrilled to have so many of you along in today's session. This is all around making your network work for you. We're going to recap a little bit on some of the stuff that may have been mentioned with Tim and Charlotte last week around career activism. But this session really is about understanding the power and the impact that networking can have on your career, but importantly, how you can take control of your career. So I just want you to spend a few minutes reflecting on what kind of hat you've come along with today. Are you wearing your HR hat? Are you wearing your employee hat? Are you wearing your leader or manager hat? For this session in particular, it may be really helpful for you to put on the employee hat. So thinking about understanding you and the way you network personally can really then help you understand how you can help others network within your organisation. So we're going to start today with a poll. And on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the highest, where would you rate your networking skills? And here, would you say number 1, poor, I avoid it where possible. Number 2, I do the odd bit, but I know I could do more. Number 3, okay, but mainly network when I have a need to. Number 4, I love catching up with my network and I occasionally grow it and expand it. Number 5, I regularly connect with my existing network and I'm focused on developing it in areas and gaps that I may have. All right, and as you can see there from the results, 14% of you have rated yourself at number 1, 35 at number 2. The majority of you are there in the middle, 41. Mainly network just when you have a need to network. And I think, speaking personally, I would say I probably will put myself somewhere between 3 and 4 there, absolutely. Number 4, 8% of you love catching up with your network, it's something that you enjoy. And number 5, just one of you on today's session today with 2%. Okay, what I'd love to help you try and think to do is try and maybe shift up one notch on the scale. It's understanding and hopefully giving you some plan and some kind of action in order to move forward and develop your network. Well done to that person who will put themselves at number 5. And the lovely thing about this is, and part of networking, is that if you have any hints and tips that help you, then please do share those in the chat as we go through. So when I say the word networking, how many of you are filled with dread? How many of you relish it? How many of you think of it as a chore? What I'd really like to stress in today's session is that networking really is quite integral to your own career management and your career development. Here at LHH, we have come up with 5 Ps. And these 5 Ps make up the kind of things that people who have excellent career development and trajectory, those who really manage and understand what they want from life and want from their career, they tend to follow these 5 areas. So they are very aware of who they are, the kind of skills, the kind of values that they have, kind of attributes that they have, and are very, very aware of those. Secondly, their performance. They can understand their value within an organisation, they understand their achievements, and they celebrate their successes. Secondly, they have a really strong understanding of the place of work, but also have a strong understanding and insight and knowledge to the organisation as a whole, but also their industry as a whole. They also have quite a good vision on where their industry or where their role in work might be developing and changing, and they have a strong understanding of how to future-proof their career. Secondly, they're constantly looking for possibilities, and this is where the networking part comes. Understanding what opportunities are out there, what kind of other knowledge and insights they can gain from talking to other people. And that's not just their peers, it may be people from completely different industries, They have quite a diverse network. It's not just based around who they have very much close to them or previous colleagues that they've worked with. They're also constantly expanding and developing their network. Then lastly, they have a plan. They have a goal. They've most likely written it down. They check back into it on a monthly basis. And actually setting yourself some kind of SMART goals and can really help you achieve these goals. Part of that SMART goal, the thing that people tend to miss out a lot of the time in, is the timing side of things. So setting yourself a really clear time frame. And this is something that may help you when you're thinking about developing your network. Maybe set a specific time aside to concentrate on developing that network, growing your network, analysing your network. Where are the gaps? Where do you need to find people that might be able to help you a bit more? Who are the people that you can help as well? So there are 5 Ps. This really is a little equation that we talk a lot about at LHH, and this is understanding the power of networking. So yes, it's really important when you're growing and developing your career and maybe potentially going for promotion or pivoting into a different role, that you understand your performance and your capabilities and the skill set that you have. Secondly, this is the part that people sometimes oversee, and that's the reputation in your brand. What are you known for within your organization? What do you want to be known for within your organization? And a lot of this is about how other people perceive you. You have a great deal of control over this in terms of developing what you do and how you do it and how others perceive you. Not always. Sometimes you might be seen as doing something else, in which case, if that's not something you want to be known for, it's really important that you try and push more towards using those skills and attributes that you want to be seen as an expert in. Lastly, it's really about your support network. Who can sing your praises? Who is an advocate for the work that you do? Who is the kind of person that will reference you, be a good reference, have your back? And once you have a good strong hold in all of these 3 areas, then it's much easier for your capability to get noticed and for you to move potentially into another role or to get that promotion. But we often don't think about that reputation and brand and that networking part. And this really is highlighted in that thing where people say it's not what you know, it's who you know. When others might be getting the promotion or others might be seen to be achieving at a much faster rate. So just a couple of poll questions here for you. Some of these might be a surprise to you. Some of them you might be very aware of already. What percentage of professionals enjoy social interaction and the ability to bond with clients or colleagues? What would you say? Is it 25%, 54%, 96%, or 75%? So the results for that, 25 of you, 15% said 25%, half of you reckon it's about 54%, 4% 96%, and 27 of you said the 75%. It's actually 75%. And I think this can really help reframing the word networking. It really is about social interaction and the ability to bond with others and make those connections. Second poll, what percentage of positions are filled through networking? And I'm going to say absolutely working with our career transition candidates within LHH. It is really quite important. And most of the people that I support and work with will find their next role through networking. So 7% reckon it's 32%, 4 of you think it's 85%, 18 of you think 72%, 20 of you think 56%. It is actually 85%. And that does seem like a large number, but the other thing that this also highlights is that there are a lot of roles that can be created through networking. If you can understand a problem or a gap within your market, and you have the understanding of your skills that can actually solve that problem, that is often another really key way of finding a really purposeful role and job that will take you to the next level. What percentage of people don't maintain their professional relationships as they don't have enough time? And again, I think networking is often associated with being, like I said earlier, a bit of a chore. It can be a bit of a drain on our energy. But as you can see from these polls, and hopefully understand throughout today's session, the value of networking and actually setting that time aside. So we've got 8 people thinking 49%, 26, 82%, 5, 33, 55, 13 of you think 55%. Okay, this might surprise you actually, I think. The answer is actually 49%. So half of people feel that they don't maintain their professional relationships as they don't have enough time. And this goes back to my point earlier around setting maybe half an hour in your week to maybe check through your LinkedIn profile. Networking doesn't have to just be meeting up and catching up with someone for a coffee or a drink. Think about how you can use digital networking to help you and gain some insights and some knowledge. Also, for those of you who have hobbies or have children that are on a sports field or have book clubs or other kind of things, don't forget that you're always networking and connecting with people in those kind of things and situations. And yes, it may not be that actually it's an immediately obvious route for developing your career and taking control of your career, but it may also surprise you. And understanding that it's actually not just your immediate network who can help you, but indeed your network's network. So don't be afraid to ask your network if they know someone who might know something about X. And lastly, what percentage of people don't invest any time into networking? Is it 50%, 64%, 25%, or 78%? Okay, the majority of you think 25%. And actually, the majority of you would be correct. 25% of people don't invest any time into networking. So I think it's really important to define what networking is. We have this perception, and sometimes the word networking can make people shiver. Networking really is about meeting people who have gone through a similar experience, and it really is about connecting with others. I often will use the word connecting. Who can you connect with rather than who can you network with? It sort of takes a bit of that and anxiety out of it a little bit. It's also building and nurturing relationships, and this is the key part of mutual benefit. It's not just about what you can gain from other people, but also you have a wealth of knowledge and experience that you can share with others as well. And it's understanding what that may be, and that often comes through listening and talking to people. It's also reaching out to others for help and helping others. That feel-good factor when you help someone else and you can understand and listen and share your experience, your expertise. People love to help other people, and understanding that can really help take the sting out of networking as well. It's also, and often people jump to this part first, getting your message across. It's not about selling yourself. It's about sharing what you are interested in and what you're curious about. Just going to have a look at see who conducted the survey that results are based on. That's a number of different surveys and like a number of different research which I can share with you after today's session. I think the question is what networking is. I think the question of what is networking is good. Also, How has it changed since the pandemic? Claire, I think that's a fantastic point. And I think actually, from a really personal point of view, it's I have craved seeing someone in a face-to-face scenario much more than catching up with someone on a Zoom, because actually my day-to-day work tends to be very much focused on Zoom. So I actually want to veer away from that. I think the thing that the pandemic really did do was make those connections much easier for us to do. And also geographically, if you think about it, it's the where people are in terms of locations, it's much easier to access that and connect with people on that level. People aren't just meeting in London, for example, anymore. They're meeting up all across the country and doing different things, I'd like to think. But I also would like to think that it's not unusual for someone to meet on Zoom now, whereas pre-pandemic, it might felt a bit odd and a bit strange. I think it's much easier to say, oh, should we have a quick chat over Zoom or on Teams, have a coffee, much quicker and much more immediate, actually, rather than having to plan face to face. I think it's much more acceptable to do it this way. I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments on that, though, and what you are finding. Are you finding it's much easier to connect with people since the pandemic? Are people more open to it, do you think? Please share your thoughts in the chat. I'll come back to it. Okay. So I just want you to reflect, and if you feel, if you want to share, please do. But I just want you to have a think about how networking has impacted your career so far. That's very interesting, Claire, that you're getting more face-to-face requests for face-to-face meetings now. Yeah. And Laura's sharing that possibly it's harder because there are a lot of events that have gone online. I think those big networking events, absolutely. The fact that they're not so much in a space anymore makes them very different. You're not so much it seems much more, you have to be much more purposeful in terms of who you're going to connect with, whereas in those large networking events where you were in a group of lots of other people, it was more you chanced upon certain introductions and certain meetings with people, which can sometimes be a bit more fortuitous because you don't know who's in the room and you don't know who you're going to meet. And I think you have to be a bit more focused and have a plan, which can sometimes take fun out of networking, actually. Okay, there's quite a few really interesting discussion on the chat. A number of you have said that you have found your current role through networking. Absolutely. And very interesting that you've got a proven. I wonder if those of you that have found your current role through networking, how you feel about networking. Are you one of those people? Did you mark yourself at a 3 and a 4 at the beginning of the session, or did you mark yourself lower? There are a number of different, so question here, which is a really good question. What are the reasons it's become easier to network after the pandemic? I mean, I still feel meeting in person is easier. I think it becomes very dependent on the individual. And I think again, it goes to how you view and see networking. How you connect personally with other people. Is it face-to-face or is it via Zoom? I know some people who would much rather have a Zoom interaction than a face-to-face interaction. I think there are lots of different things happening, but I think what is absolutely clearer, or what there seems to be more of a drive around, is actually people loving that connection when they do meet people in face-to-face. That's not always true, but I think a lot of a lot of people are craving that connection because they're shut in a room a lot of the time and can feel a bit siloed. Okay, thank you for sharing. Lots of things in there around your current role through people that you knew through work, also through people within your industry. Another comment, I think networking on video calls is much more time efficient. And absolutely, for those of you who don't have much time at all, or and are often back to back in meetings, it's much quicker. You're not having to travel somewhere to meet up with someone. Absolutely. Okay. Thank you for that. Lots of debate and discussion on this area. These are just a couple of barriers to networking, and I'm wondering if there's anything else that's coming up for you as we talk about this, in terms of a barrier that you feel you have to reaching out and connecting with people. Often, again, when we're working with people within LHH, a lot of people say, "Oh, I feel really anxious about it. I feel very." There's an element of shame to reaching out to someone. I feel like I have to sell myself. I don't want to put on LinkedIn that I'm looking for a role or I'm looking for work because I just feel really needy. I think a lot of that can be connected to that rejection side of things and that fear. There may also be an element that you have a lack of contact or that you haven't maintained that network. So when it comes to reaching out, you feel like, oh, last time I spoke to you was 3 years ago. Why would they want to help me? So I think a big part of this is understanding how you can maintain your network. Jane, thank you for being so honest. All of those things resonate for you. I think if you are feeling like this about networking, it's really important to try and reframe it as much as you possibly can. And absolutely, sometimes it is difficult to go public when looking for other opportunities for fear of turning off your current manager and employer. And actually, when you're at that stage, it's much easier to reframe the networking part in your head as being curious and trying to find insights and knowledge about other industries and organizations. And don't forget, sometimes the grass always seems greener, but there may be things that you start to discover through those curious conversations that you can actually take within your current organization and maybe approach people within your organization and in terms of developing potentially a new role or looking at another position within another team, how you can be a bit more mobile within your current organization and what are the opportunities and possibilities there. There are lots of opportunities out there. Thank you, Anthony. I think this is really important to remember, and really goes back to that point around people really enjoy helping other people. You have that feel-good factor. Anthony's put in the chat, I had a period of time out of work and in hindsight should have reached out to my network. When I told people after I found work, lots said they could have helped. And I think, Anthony, that's a brilliant application for everything that we're discussing today. So thank you for sharing that. So this might help you a little bit in terms of reframing the word networking. So networking is a lens through which you see the world. It's not necessarily a calendar activity. So it's about being curious. It's about understanding how things are working in different areas, looking to different industries, looking to different things. I mean, if you think about nature, for example, how many things are inspired by nature and the way nature is. It's expanding your horizons a little bit and looking at things differently. This is a few things in which you can reframe it or look at it through a different lens. Think about networking as a connection, building connections with other people, and building connections with other humans, not just their titles. Having a genuine interest in something. What do you really love? What sparks your inspiration? What do you feel inspired by? Where do you feel inspired? Think about the environment you're in as well. When you're connecting with people, think about it as a first step into a longer relationship. Often these connections that you have, and when you're developing strong connections, it takes time. It takes time to build and maintain. Understanding as well that when it comes to service and the orientation, understand that you have something to give as well. Your values, your skills, your experience, everything that you have achieved is going to be incredibly valuable to someone else. So being able to share that knowledge too. And then lastly, just another reason why it's really important to network. It really is essential to maintain and develop and grow within your career. And the more you do it, the better you'll get at it and the easier it will become. So how do you reach out to someone, and what kind of things, how do you open a conversation and start a conversation? We're looking here at positioning and branding statements, so tying in with that personal brand side of things, but really important that you have an understanding and you can succinctly and clearly communicate what it is and who you are. So first of all, this is 4 elements of putting together a powerful and a strong branding or positioning statement. Introductions with your title or the kind of role that you currently have. If you're looking at expanding it or changing, then obviously thinking about, well, currently I am this, but I'm looking to be this. Then it's about understanding what your expertise is. So what is your specific skill? What is your experience in that? How have you achieved that? And then understanding the types of organizations that you would like to work for. And then also understanding what makes you unique. What is your USP, as it were? Once you have a sense of what you're looking for and how you can position yourself, it's also understanding the different types of networks that are available for you. And again, I'm just going to give you a few moments to have a think about these 4 separate areas. So we've got your operational network. So the kind of people that you need to know and communicate with on a regular basis in order to get your job done. I wonder if you can write any names underneath that that are within your current network. Secondly, your industry. So who else do you know that works within your industry? These are people that you need these people to connect to your job. So in terms of understanding where potentially your industry is going, how it's developing, who are the sort of thought leaders within that industry piece? Who do you know within your network currently that fall under that industry title? Secondly is your career. Who are these people that you need to know that can open the doors for you? Who are the people that you're advocates? Who are the people that are the decision makers? Who are the kind of people that you need to know? And again, pop a few names under that title. And then lastly, who is in your support? Who is in your sort of support group? Who are the kind of people that can back you? Who are those people that can remind you of the kind of things that you've achieved? Because it can be exhausting and it can be tiring, developing and building your network, but also looking for something new, especially if you're feeling particularly trapped in your current role. So who are those people that are going to be your cheerleaders, as it were, and pick you up and listen to you? So just have a think about the kind of people that you can put under each of those titles. And again, if there's an area where there's fewer names than others, maybe this can help you signpost a gap within your network and where you might want to focus your energies first. Or it might highlight to you an area where you have strong connections already, so it's about maintaining those and maybe reaching out and touching those. So again, this just helps look at an overall networking strategy of where you might need to focus some of your energy and your time. Okay, got another poll for you. So which category will you focus on to extend your network? Is it going to be the operational networks? Is it going to be your future focus networks? Or is it going to be your career networks? So where are you thinking at the moment your time might need to be focused on? Do you need to build internally? Do you need to think about networking externally, maybe going to a few more events and discussions? Or is it your career networks? Is it maintaining and maybe reaching out and developing that personal and that professional connections, those people that can help you develop your career? So majority thinking about developing your career networks. Secondly, it's the future focus networks. And then lastly, it's the operational networks. Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody. All right. There are also different relationship levels. And again, having a diverse network can really help you cover all the bases, but will also help you understand and develop where your blind spots may be in your initial thinking and your perceptions of things. So again, it might help you to think of a name for each of these areas. Now, first of all, we're going to take number one, the advocate. Who is that person that knows you really well, that you can trust on a personal level, the kind of person that can advocate for who you are and what you do? Secondly, and this may be more like a peer for you, the advocate may be your manager. Thinking about your ally, who's the person that's going to have your back? Who's the person that you can go to, discuss things with, can help you understand your strengths? Thirdly, who within your current network is your acquaintance? Someone who knows you, but maybe doesn't actually know the full picture. They understand what your role is and the kind of your industry that you work in, but actually, do they really understand what your dreams and aspirations are? What is it that you really you want to go on and achieve? They might not know that. Who is that within your network? And then lastly, who's your adversary? Who do you feel you might need in your network, but actually there may be a potential clash or a little bit of friction? And maybe that comes from a little bit of misunderstanding or miscommunication. Who is there that actually you need to start building bridges and start to build a professional connection with? And again, that can be quite revealing and interesting. Maybe there's someone you haven't immediately thought of because actually they are a bit of an acquaintance or a bit of an adversary. But actually, if you were to build that relationship, they could really help you develop and grow. I'm conscious of time. I'm conscious we've got just over 5 minutes left. So we will spend some time going back and reflecting on some of these questions and filling out some of these areas and gaps that can help you form that strong network. So also identifying the gaps in your network. This is another strategy that we use within LHH, thinking about the diversity. How diverse is your network? Are the people in your network, do they challenge your thinking? Do they have insights that you wouldn't maybe ordinarily think of or have access to? How many different perspectives how many people within your network offer you a different perspective and a different way of looking at things? Again, one way of doing this is to go through your LinkedIn profile and your LinkedIn network and think about the kind of people that you have. Are the kind of people that you have within your current network mainly ex-colleagues? How can you expand that and connect to other people? And especially thinking about maybe the kind of organization or industry you are wanting to either move into or explore, then obviously that's quite a key area. Quantity, how could you benefit from more people in a specific type of network? Why do you think you have more people in one specific type of network than another? I remember when LinkedIn came out, I was working in a PR organization and everyone was connecting with everybody. Consequently, my LinkedIn profile for a good few years was mainly just from my one organization. I'm glad to say that has changed now. But it's understanding and being aware of that and where you might want to strategically grow in a certain area. Do you have too many people in your network to be able to foster strong relationships? And also, I'm going to add another question to this is, do you, when you're networking, do you tend to just go to the same people? Think about expanding it. And again, going back to what you offer and what you have, understanding your skills and your values and how you can connect with other people, really understanding that actually that value, where else is that going to be valued and where you can share it. Understanding your strengths. So again, asking yourself these questions here. Do you have many advocates? Who are those advocates? Do you see opportunities to strengthen some of those relationships? Can you build them a little bit more? Has it been a while since you last connected with them? How can you connect with them? Have you seen an article recently that you know they would be interested in? And it's, again, that's a really nice way to reach out and share some knowledge and insight. And can you think of any adversaries? Are there people who you actually need to reach out to first and start to build those bridges? Well, this is just a really important part. This is really about maintaining that network. It does take time and it does take energy. So really decide who you want to stay in touch with. Maybe think of, and I talk about this a lot, think of a gold, silver and bronze. Divide your network into those three areas. Who is in your gold network? Who maybe you want to focus and concentrate on those in your silver band to start off with. And maybe those in your bronze band, they might need a bit more time and a bit more energy to focus. Be strategic. Think about where your gaps are and where you want to head to. Make use of all the communication tools. So think about LinkedIn, think about Zoom, coffee chats, think about face-to-face, think about networking opportunities, think about certain events where people might be interested in meeting up. Staying connected on social media is always a quick way just to touch base, and understanding and looking for ways in order to help your contact and share knowledge. So again, these slides, I think, we're not going to share the slides with you today, but we are going to share a little a worksheet, and a lot of these hints and tips will be connected and attached to that. These are just a few micro actions on networking for success. So block time out in your calendar, schedule career conversations with your manager's manager. So thinking about how your manager's manager and actually indeed your manager's manager, if that's relevant, can help you. Research professional organizations, share your networking map with a trusted colleague, see if they can offer any advice or collaboration. Maybe they know people that you hadn't thought they might know. Reach out to someone in your network you've not spoken to in a while to maybe challenge yourself, touch base for a bit, and add adversaries to your network map and schedule time with one. So these are just a few steps and actions you can take to help you build and grow and maintain that network. So just wrapping it all up, I'm curious to know if there are any insights or any questions from anything that we've discussed today. I'd like to say thank you to those of you who've already shared some comments and chat and things in the Q&A and the chat. I think that's a really good point Anna's made there about the amount of spam and people that you get on LinkedIn trying to sell you something. Actually, if you're not already following them or you've not sent a message in terms of connecting, sometimes people can be a bit suspicious and think that you are selling something rather than just reaching out and connecting. If you can, it's always good to get an introduction from someone. Tim, that's the jump is harder than the swim, absolutely. But remember the importance and the benefits, and that actually there is going to be someone thinking about that about you as well. And I'd like to think that I'm sure you're very open to people approaching you and helping them within their career. So just lastly for me to say a big thank you to all of you. Thank you for your time today. I hope you managed to take away a few hints and tips in terms of building and expanding your network. And I wish you the very best of luck going forward with building and expanding and maintaining your network. Thank you very much, everybody. It's been a pleasure.